use this framework called mastery. And this for mindset. That's what we just talked about, being a warrior. The A is for assessment. If you come to see us, we're going to do a very thorough assessment on you, including blood work. We're going to test your saliva, your blood, sometimes your stool, right? We're going to test all of these things to see what's happening with you. And to answer your question, there's a group of nutrients that are very basic that almost everyone needs to supplement. And those are just your standard basic nutrients, right? But then from there, it becomes very individual. So what we see, though, the things that are missing the most that surprise people when they come in, vitamin D, number one thing, incredibly, dangerously low in most people. And they're like, but I live in California, or I live in Florida, or I live wherever it's sunny. I'm outside all the time. Those are the people that are sometimes the lowest because they're using sunscreen all the time. And because we're in a computer age where everyone's inside all day.
Yeah.
And the darker your skin is, the higher your chance of being low in vitamin D. Because you've got
can that cause depression?
Extreme. so that's where that's where the where the basically your environmental depression comes from lack of sunshine, like people who live in Seattle or in rainy areas. So low vitamin D is actually responsible for increased risk of depression, diabetes, heart disease, like a number of things. So, and it's the simplest thing to fix, right? So we're going to test your vitamin D right away because that's so easy to fix, and nothing's going to work right if your vitamin D is low. Thyroid is another one. Most people, it's just bizarre, but for whatever reason, we're seeing this increase in the number of people with thyroid disease. And a big part of it, we think, is because that's where diet really does matter, because it really does affect thyroid.
Is it usually like hyper or hypo?
Hashimoto's is on the rise like crazy. So that leads to low thyroid. So that's one of them. I had thyroid cancer. And so that's one of them. The other one is omega-3 fatty acids. Anytime you have a society eating fast food, anytime we have a processed food society, we've gotten away from whole foods, away from plant foods, away from, we think of it as a 70-30 ratio, anywhere from 80-20 to 70-30. Plants to very healthy protein. When you get away from that ratio, you're going to see a dramatic rise in omega-6 fatty acids, which are inflammatory causing, and decrease omega-3. You get omega-3s from fish oil, from your healthy diet, from like a Mediterranean type diet.
Right. And I want to make a comment on that, because for people that are listening that do eat seafood, it's so critical that you choose Wildcaught versus farm-raised for that very reason, because the food that the seafood is eating, the fish, the shrimp, etc., if it's not in a wild environment where it's eating what it was intended to eat, versus farm-raised where it's eating pellets and radioactive material and parasites and all of the other things that are associated with farm-raised, it literally becomes a different animal, and that animal becomes part of you when you eat it. So be very careful to make that choice. And by the way, I got my whole face swelled up from eating one shrimp at a restaurant that was supposedly Wildcaught, but it was actually farm-raised. They told me the wrong information. So I had to go to urgent care because I thought I was dying. So I'm just saying, that is something I'm so staunchly about. I don't know if you've had an experience like that too.
To your point, I want to just throw out there what we recommend for people is seafoodwatch.org. Seafoodwatch.org is an organization that constantly updates their website on what the healthiest fish to eat are currently in what areas. So let's just say there was an oil spill. Let's just say there was radioactive material that dumped in the water. They keep a watch at all times to tell you which fish to avoid, which fish to eat, what areas are the healthiest. And they're constantly updating it because it changes. Everyone thinks, I should eat salmon. Not always, not from certain areas.
Right.
So that's why I love that that organization, seafoodwatch.org. And to your point, I would actually say what you said is spot on, but it's all of your food. Mm-hmm. You are eating whatever that animal ate. That's why all of your food should be eating what they were born to eat.
Yes, definitely.
Lots of meat. We think you should eat less meat, but eat higher quality meat, because people complain that it's too expensive. So it's okay, but eat less of it. So
100%.
Eat higher quality meat.
Yeah. But those omegas, you think you're doing the right thing by choosing fish, but you can be unpleasantly surprised when you know that it's not eating what nature intended.
But we actually don't want people eating enough fish anyways that they are getting to get the right level of omega-6 fatty acids or omega-3 fatty acids in our society today. You'd have to eat a lot of fish, and with the fish the way it is, your mercury, what we see is people's mercury goes too high.
That's a great point.
People taking a really high quality fish oil, and because fish oil is actually filtered. Okay, so it's different. You're not getting the mercury, that you're not getting all the toxins.
You're getting it more concentrated.
You are. And so it's much healthier to get your fish oil that way, and you're not getting all of the other stuff that goes along with the fish, and a lot of people don't even like fish. So taking fish oil is critical. And for vegans, we don't want them taking things like flax oil because that's too high in omega-6 fatty acids, and you have to take too much of it to get omega-3s, and it's not the right kind of omega-3s. There are different types of omega-3s. What we prefer that they would take if they're going to be vegan, take blue-green algae.
Blue-green algae.
Yeah.
With so many other benefits too. Would you say that spirulina and chlorella and all of those are in the same sort of category?
They're not the same as far as giving them the omega-3s in that concentration, but they're still healthy. Yes. So I'm not saying don't take them. I'm saying that the blue-green algae, though, specifically that is filtered for the omega-3s is what is the healthiest thing, because it's still not quite up to the level of pure fish oil, but it's the best thing that a vegan can take.
Blue-green algae, y'all. It's something that is so important. And I think those three, vitamin D, thyroid issues, and you're seeing more of an explosion with lower thyroid, like with Hashimoto's, and omega-3s. Are there any other big ahas or categories that you would say are pretty endemic?
Oh, absolutely. The big thing that popped on the scene in the last probably 5 years is that the thing that was so shocking to everybody is that we actually have pretty much all of our patients take probiotics. And this is why diet, you asked me early on why diet is so important. The big explosion in the psychiatric field, in the mental health field, if you will, has been gut health. Mm. So surprising, gut health, if your gut's not right, your brain's not right.
Yes.
Your gut and your brain are so directly connected. You have nervous tissue all through your gut. You make more neurotransmitters in your gut than in your brain than anywhere else in your body. And that's why you get butterflies when you're nervous. You get loose stools when you're upset. I mean, it's directly linked. So, and when you have leaky gut or when you damage your gut, when you have food allergies, all of these issues that we see with food, like just the same reason, this is how I met you, because we're both into food.
Yeah, definitely.
But any of the problems that go along with that, what happens is it directly affects your brain. You are more likely, significantly more likely, in fact, it's almost always. We see problems with people who come in with severe anxiety, severe depression, other major psychiatric illnesses. We almost always see that they're not eating a super healthy diet. Yeah. And if they are, they might just be lacking some nutrients. Now, is that the whole picture? No, but it is a major part of it. It's one of our cornerstones.
Well, and I think, what we could probably really do as a society is take a look at our refrigerators and our pantries and see what is it that we are stocking. I mean, I feel very strongly, and I know we've talked about this, is there's not too many things that we need to survive, but food and water are two of them. I'm going to say both because both are extremely important. And if where you are keeping your food is home to some lonely ketchup packets and some, Diet Coke, then we've got some problems.
Yeah, it's so funny because I grew up eating. If you read my story, if you read Brain Warrior's Way, you'll read my story, and it's a sad story. It's pathetic, actually. But I was not always the way I am. I grew up in a lot of trauma, drama, and chaos. With a single working mother who ran away from home at 16, worked 3 jobs. I mean, it was crazy. But because of that, my idea of what eating was to survive was very different from what it is now. I went on this journey to save myself, right? Mm-hmm. But if you looked in my refrigerator, when I first moved out on my own, you'd find a couple cans of frosting. Frosting was my crack, and that's what I lived on. Wow. I'm like getting up working late at night, middle of the night as a trauma nurse, and I'm on the go, and I'm 2 pots of coffee and a can of frosting in my fridge. So like, that's what I lived on. How, I don't know, but that's what I survived on, and M&Ms while I worked.
Well, and here's the thing for everybody listening, there's no shame. You are here because it's never too late to change. It's never too late to start a new habit.
No better.
So what would you say would be, if you could give people one tip, one thing that they could do to improve their health today, what would that be?
Well, I think the first thing that they're already doing, and that is just start doing the research. One thing I want to do is go through mastery with you.
Oh, yes.
What I want people to do is pick the one thing they can do the fastest. Some people are like me, and I think like you, Mareya, I'm not exactly sure, but I'm a jump the canyon kind of person. I know it's hard to imagine just hearing me on the podcast. It's like, do it all, do it now, get it done.
Yes.
I'm one of those people. It's like, don't give me half of a program. I want all of it right this minute. I'm going to get it done. There are people like that need to jump the canyon. I always say you can't cross a canyon in 2 small steps. But there are people who need to rappel down the canyon, walk across, climb up the other side. And that's okay. Mm. Okay? There are people who need to take tiny steps. So we call them tiny habits. What I want you to do is assess, are you a jump the canyon kind of person, or are you a tiny steps kind of person? Neither way is right or wrong unless you try to do it in a way that doesn't work for you. Mm-hmm. So if you're a tiny steps kind of person, pick one tiny habit that you know you can do today. Only focus on that tiny habit. And then my suggestion would be chunk it down. What I mean by that, let's just say your tiny habit is, well, I need to drink more water. Well, if you all of a sudden go, I'm going to cut out coffee, drink water, make sure I drink a gallon a day, that's going to feel overwhelming to some people.
Yeah.
But if you go, what if I made a pot of half calf today and I just drank a half cup less, and I make sure that I drink at least 1 cup extra of water a day? What if it was just that small?
Yeah.
Well, what if you just broke it down and you said, well, today I'm going to do half calf coffee. Next week, I'm going to add the extra cup. Break it down as small as you have to, but pick that habit, whatever the habit is for you. Okay. So if you go through mastery, mastery is mindset. We already talked about mindset. That's being a warrior, thinking like a warrior. If you want to be a peaceful warrior, then be very aware, armed, prepared, and avoid a fight. Mm-hmm. One thing my master told me when I started training is, I'm going to teach you how to fight, but what I really want you to do is run really fast.
Interesting. Yeah, because we're almost like, we think that that's like defeat, but that's not defeat. That's just being smart.
It's wisdom. My favorite quote in martial arts is, Master, why do you teach me to fight, but you talk of peace? And the master says to the warrior, because I'd rather you be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in a war. Mm. And I love that. Yeah. So that's the M. The M is knowing your why, because if you don't know what your why, you'll never do your what. You've got to have a strong why, a strong enough why that it's leverage and it's your must. It becomes a must.
I love that.
And the A is assessment. We just talked about assessment. You get your numbers checked. You assess, in this case of what you're talking about, assess your pantry, assess your house. We go through all of the things you need to assess. You assess your body and you assess where you're at. The S is what we've also been talking about, sustenance. It's your food. Because that is notice it's in the middle of mastery. It is the most important thing. It is the cornerstone of what we do. Sustenance. So the T is training. That's the tiny habits. It's understanding that each thing you do every day makes a difference. Don't get mad at yourself if you mess up. There is no failing unless you don't get up. So one thing I loved in karate when I first started practicing, when I walked in, and he told me, okay, put your pads on. Today you're going to learn how to fall. And I'm like, what? I was like, what are you talking about? I don't want to learn how to fall. I want to learn how not to fall.
Right.
He's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. You have to learn how to fall. You're going to fall a lot. So let's learn how to fall safely and get up quickly.
That's a wonderful just to know in life.
It was such, for some reason it just clicked in my brain, because women, we're perfectionists. Yeah. And I went, oh my gosh. You can't do it perfectly.
Just embrace that you will fall. It's a matter of time.
Right. And it clicked with me that there's no failing right then. It was like, there's no failing. There's only falling. Yes. I only fail if I don't get up.
I love it.
I love that part in training. The E is my favorite. So I actually wrote the Essence chapter in The Brain Wears Way. Essence is your purpose. It's Why is the planet a better place because you're on it, because you breathe? Why does it have eternal value for you? And if it doesn't have eternal value, why are you wasting your time?